X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every X-Men story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Zach. Oh, Adam. Do you know what we're talking about today? We're talking about you.
We are talking about how I did it all for the Nookie. What? The Nookie? What? So you can take that cookie and stick it up your what? I'm sorry. I'm just reminiscing about how Fabian Nicieza invented nu metal several years before it appeared on the radio. And yeah, guys, we're talking about Adam-X the X-Treme.
Yeah, are you talking about Adam Niamari? Are you talking about the lost prince of the Shi'ar Empire?
Well, we're going to unpack some stuff today because we've had Adam-X on the program before, not the actual Adam-X, but we've talked about Adam-X before, but we're really going to get into it.
I feel like every time we've talked about Adam-X, because it's happened twice.
Yes.
It's been a good time. So high hopes. And to stack the deck in our favor, we decided to bring in an Adam expert. You may know him from the podcast Super Sons. It is Dan McMahon. Dan, how you doing?
I am fantastic. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
That is true. This is a true thing. And do you know what else is true?
There's lots of stuff that's true. Face tattoos, braids, blades, backwards baseball caps that have X-Men logos on them, but I'm not sure why. There's all kinds of things that are true.
I was just going to say that it was true that Dan supports the show on Patreon, and he requested the first story that we're covering today, and I didn't realize that, and I was like, hey, Dan, you're a big Adam-X fan. You want to be on for our Adam-X episode? And then I looked at it later, and he had suggested it. So it should be a good time. I imagine that we are all very excited for this one.
Well, what is the first story that we're doing here, Dan? What is this?
It is the X-Force Special. It's 2, right? It's the second
Yes.
one.
Yes.
X-Force Annual number 2, written by friend of the show, Fabian Nicieza, with art by Tony Daniel. Do you think that Fabian would like us calling him a friend of the show? I'm like 50-50.
I mean, I think we call everybody that's been on the show a friend of the show. And I think that he would appreciate if he doesn't want it to be taken seriously, the irony of it. But we value Fabian greatly. So
I think of Fabian as my personal best friend. So
in one of the editor notes, he calls himself Fabe. So
Fabe.
I can't get over that. It's always going to be Fabe now to me.
Maybe we have to know him a little better to do that.
I don't know if Daddy Fabe wants to.
Daddy Fabe.
Daddy Fabe did put it in the comics, so I think we can call him that. But no, so this issue is the first appearance of Adam-X the X-Treme. What's interesting about this is something that Marvel Comics was doing across the board in 1994. All of their annuals had a new character being introduced with a super cool trading card. And do you know how many of those characters got a second appearance?
I think it was just the Executioner and Adam-X. That's probably it, right?
And I am like 90% sure, now I have to check, but I believe it was Genus Vel, one of the Captain Marvels, who showed up in Silver Surfer Annual number 6.
Oh, we got to be careful how you say that. We're gonna delve into that in a little bit.
Yeah, we're gonna dig into it. But there were 3 of all of the Marvel characters that ever showed up again,
And only one matters.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Genus Vel, possibly the worst Captain Marvel. We'll get into it though.
I don't see how you get worse, but we'll tackle that in a couple minutes.
There's nothing below rock bottom.
Anyway, so Dan, what happens in this story?
So in this story, Adam-X is a bloodhound for, is his name Strong?
Martin Strong?
Yep.
Martin Strong. And he's been collecting mutants for this. At one point, I think they describe it as a cushy. facility where he's, trying to cure mutinage, as, every story does.
Sure, as you
Um,
do, as Beast did.
And I think Boom Boom comments on it at one point, and she's like, ain't that been done several
Yeah.
times already?
Happens all the time, she says.
But throughout the story, he actually takes on all of X-Force in his first introduction.
And he wins, which is nuts. Like, that's a way to introduce a character. Say, I'm so much cooler than all of you, and I'm going to beat you all up with my mutant power of... Guys, I feel like this is a very in-the-know podcast at this point. I don't think we've thoroughly explained Adam-X.
Well,
His mutant power is to set your blood on fire. And he walks around with knives and blades strapped to him to ease in them.
That is how he beats X-Force, is that he sort of dodges and bounces around them like a gymnast and then says, haha, look, I give you all little nicks like you cut yourself shaving, and then goes, and they all go,
I think, don't quote me on this, I never deal in definites, but isn't he a trained Shi'ar warrior?
Sure.
Yeah, look, again, guys, here's the dirty secret. We're just covering all but like 2 616 Adam-X stories in this. So we're going to get to all of his background in just a minute. And maybe we should have started with that, but who cares? He has long braids and he wears a backwards baseball cap and I assume a denim jacket, though I'm not sure.
Sometimes.
He's nuts. I love the dude. He has a soul patch. He's wild.
Has face tattoos.
He does have some Shi'ar face tattoos.
Yep.
He's got those... I don't know how to describe them other than like McFarlane eyes.
Yeah,
like the
he
shading
does.
and all that stuff.
Are his gloves fingerless? Because I feel like they should be.
I know they have Wolverine claws in them.
That's right. That's right. He has some Wolverine gloves too, and all of his speech bubbles are sharp. They have an extra bubble on them, and it has points.
Yeah, his speech has blades to it. So, anyone want to take a gander at what Adam-X sounds like? I don't know.
Oh,
Does he sound like
100% from South Jersey?
Does he sound like he's from Korn? Like what is like what?
I feel like
Adam-X is, for a character who came out in 1994, he is essentially what I think of when I think of nu metal, which is, it's just a weird thing. Like, dude owns 3 to 7 pairs of Jinkos. I know that for a fact. He's not owned a wallet that hasn't had a chain attached to it. This is just who he is, and we need to embrace him.
Do you think that, like, as Adam-X has grown out of continuity, that perhaps he's like a juggalo today?
No,
you don't think he went on that road?
In 2003, yes. I think today, this is a tough one. He definitely has a SoundCloud today, but that's all I've got right now.
Oh, I love that idea. Maybe he's like a SoundCloud mumble rapper. that'd be fun.
I mean, he already has the face tattoos, so he's kind of halfway there.
Yeah. So here he's like assassin for hire. In X-Force's defense, they are down Feral, Cannonball, and Siren because Cannonball and Siren are trying to rescue Feral from Strong's warehouse.
Yeah, because they got internships there, like it's easy, like internships drawn in an internship tree.
Right. And this is a 64-page annual, so there's a lot of content here. This is more than just 2, regular sized issues. So, there has to be some subplots going on.
But are there? Because essentially Adam-X just says, I'm going to capture X-Force. And he goes back to his employer and says, I didn't capture X-Force. And then they find Adam-X and they're like, let's team up and take down your employer. And Adam says, okay.
Let me interject for one hot second.
You may.
So I think one of the biggest things in this issue that I guess clung to is the fact that there's all this, I guess it's kind of subtle, is him wanting to join something. He doesn't have a place. He's lost. He doesn't have memory. And Strong is promising to give him his past back. And he's taken hold of his identity. So Adam doesn't have his own. So he's just kind of absorbing the world around him. Like at one point, he's brooding on top of his spaceship, staring at X-Force from like almost a mile away, just watching them and just wanting to be a part of like their group. Like he just wants friends.
He's like an annoying little brother that really wants to hang out and play hockey or something.
Yeah, the third Summers brother.
He's going a little too hard with what he thinks is cool. And this is the grand unifying problem about Adam-X, is that I know what Fabian was going for. I know what his long-term plot for this was going to be, and he was definitely going to explore those themes. But because he veered so hard into the X-Treme direction in his early appearances, and then never got a chance to really develop the character more, it doesn't necessarily come through. His intentions don't always come through. I can see what he was going for, but that's not what I think of when I think of Adam-X.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think anything like that's on the page.
I mean, people remember it because of, Adam-X was a ridiculous character, but Dan's not wrong. If you look at the last page of the annual, before you get to the awesome pinup art, he's literally looking at a flyer that says, "Do you wish to find a place where you could just fit in?" And there you go. There's your character motivation right there for Adam-X.
Okay. But he did get invited to join X-Force. They did say, "Hey, dude, you want to hang out?"
Yeah.
And he said no.
Is cool.
I think he's in that point. I think Adam-X is in the point of his life where he needs to learn to love himself before he can love someone else.
Well, I think, and he may have gotten to that point in continuity, but then, Fabian wasn't around to keep it going.
Yeah, he got it.
So if you've never read this before, we'll spoil that the villain in this issue, Strong, does turn out to be just a body for like a little baby fish person.
Yeah, he's a dude inside a bigger dude. It's great.
Yeah, that his whole image was like, whoa, I did not see that coming.
And I'll say Tony Daniel, I don't think 90s Tony Daniel is necessarily my favorite artist. Like I think Greg Capullo, who was his contemporary on X-Force at the time, does a much better job with these characters. But Tony Daniel doesn't do a bad job with it. It's a perfectly reasonable issue.
Capullo also does, they actually become counterparts again in my universe with Batman. And Capullo actually does one of the best Batman designs ever. Tony S. Daniels is like a huge artist for Batman, and I think he wrote him for a while, but he was never like my artist.
Mm-hmm.
Good art though.
Adam, you were a lad when this was coming out. What was the initial reaction to Mr. X-Treme?
I don't think anybody ever really took this very seriously, especially because, right off the bat, he's like becoming chums with Shatterstar, and there's a huge parallel between what I think Nicieza was going for with Shatterstar and what he's going for with Adam-X. I mean, they're very, very similar. Outsiders looking for a home, looking to fit in somewhere, trying to acclimate to an entirely new world's worth of culture. Obviously, that got played up a lot more with Shatterstar, but, Adam-X was always a bit of a trading card joke to an extent. But I think there's stuff you could work with here that's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, he is stuck around for better or for worse, and mostly just in people's minds and hearts. But he does exist. Now, Dan,
sure does.
What made you want to select this issue for us to discuss?
So I was talking about this last night with Charlie.
Charlie Davis, friend of the show.
And I was like, originally, I loved Adam because of this. He is nobody's favorite X-Men. He's kind of this new metal joke. But after reading this issue and like sitting down and being like, wow, Adam-X really makes me sad. Because like there's this framework for a good character. But he never got the chance to become a good character. He's just the one who cried when he tried to kill Strong. I think the other issue brought that home even more for me, but now I think I accidentally made myself into a Adam-X the X-Treme truther.
Yeah, that happens.
It's not hard. There's a lot to theorize about here, given what limited information we have on the page.
I think for me, I love Adam-X. I do not like Adam-X. Like, I don't actually want to read a Adam-X ongoing. I would love for one to exist, though, and I love the idea of it.
Oh, yeah. I'd love a maxi.
Sure. I think it just depends on who's going at it. It does need a delicate touch and a really smart way of bringing it to now.
Or
you
just have Chris Sims and Chad Bowers do it and just make it a fun 90s romp. And I'd be also okay with that.
Hey, they brought him back in X-Men 92 and it was pretty fun.
Yeah, he said it was time to get extreme. That's all I want from Adam-X. Like, just have him show up and say something extreme. He's good. But I think the true test of how good he is will come on our list. Now, Adam Rec.
Hey.
We should start calling you Adam X because you're adamant on an X-Men podcast. I don't think I'll get confusing at all. But
I'll allow it.
We have 198 stories on our list of every X-Men story ever, starting with our top 3 of Days of Future Past, Astonishing X-Men Gifted, and God Loves Man Kills. In our bottom 3 of NYX, X-Men Phoenix Legacy of Fire, and The Draco, which I just read something or watched a video about the entire Chuckles the Truckles run recently.
Is that what we're calling him now?
Oh, yeah, he calls himself Chuckles.
Oh, okay. Hey,
yeah.
Way to do
Own it.
No, he's great. Chuck Austin, I bet you're an awesome person. Your X-Men's bad, and you've heard that, and that's fine. But we've got 198 stories on here, and I'm going to tell you what the highest this story could ever possibly go is, and this is my hard ceiling.
Okay.
It's not better than X-Force 29 and 30, Adam-X the X-Treme is back, and things have never been deadlier, where Adam-X and Shatterstar fight in Arcade's murder world.
That is also my ceiling. I immediately highlighted that 165 on the list because that's the appearance that I remember. I don't really recall this annual as much, even though it has a little bit more character development to it. But having Shatterstar and Adam-X team up and making for a really fun, good team up and go up against Arcade, even though it really doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it's
really
bonkers.
Fun. Yeah. So how low do we want to go? I mean, I think this is a pretty serviceable annual. It's a good introduction to the character, and it tells a 90s-esque tale of woe for a group of people trying to eliminate mutants and X-Force stopping them. You're not going to remember it very distinctly unless it was something that was around in your childhood, or maybe you, I don't know, Dan, you look back on this pretty fondly, right?
I do, but
okay.
I won't. I'm not going to go up to bat for this one. I will go up to bat for the other one.
Okay, yeah, that's understandable.
So here's what I'd say: this is probably better than our 169 X Factor Judgment War, and I don't like it as much as 167 Cable The Long Way Home, where Cable goes to Genosha and fights Sugarman.
I'm with you. So I would put this at 168 and put this ahead of Curse of the Mutants. What do you think about that?
I think I hate Curse of the Mutants. So
so you're okay with that?
I'm absolutely okay with that. So this is our new number 168, X-Force Annual number 2.
Perfect.
All right. Now, the next story that we're going to talk about is... let's save the pathos for the end. Let's talk about the bad story.
Well, this is where Dan's Adam-X trutherism is really going to come to fruition, because when we interviewed Fabian, he talked to us about this Miss Marvel run, which I doubt.
Captain Marvel, again.
I'm sorry.
You did that off air. I think you've done it on air.
Sorry. I apologize. Captain Marvel run that I don't think many people even knew existed, let alone have read, but it does feature Mr. Adam-X in a supporting role. And this was how Fabian tried to squeeze in the origin story of Adam-X into one of these issues.
Yeah, so this is what happens. This story, written by Fabes and with pencils by Ed Benes,
Oh boy.
is a story about Genus Vel, who is Captain Marvel's son.
Mm-hmm.
Not even his good son. He's like the third worst kid because Captain Marvel has Teddy from the Young Avengers. That's his kid. And he's better than this by far. Hulkling. And Philovel is better than him. So easily Captain Marvel's worst kid, I think.
Yeah, I think on a scale, he's the worst kid. He's the Job of the Marvel family.
I mean, and it's worth noting that, you know, a lot of people pick on Adam-X for being this very corny caricature of, like, you know, 90s excess. But I don't know what the heck Fabian is trying to get across with this character. It is this drug and drink addled alien superhero who speaks in what is it, calcula slang? That's where he's from, is calcula.
It's very bad.
And you can't really understand what most people are saying. And there's a plot here about being framed for blowing something up. And eventually that...
Do you know who's framing him? Do you know who's framing him?
I believe it's Eric the Red.
It's Eric the Red. Dan, were you expecting to see Eric the Red?
I was not, and I was not expecting what happens to Eric the Red.
Yeah, this is an interesting story, but I do want to touch right before we leave on Genus Vel, because he does suck, but he has what might be my favorite line in comics ever. One that I started crying after I read, and I sent it to my wife, who normally hates this stuff, and she starts cracking up. Genus Vel, talking to his friends over a beer, does say, "I'd rather be 19 and horny than 3 and stupid." And I don't know what that means, but I love it.
It's kind of a perfect distillation of this character. You also have to realize that he's having that conversation with Rick Jones, which just adds a whole nother dimension of stupidity to it. But Adam-X is, I guess, sent after this Captain Marvel, who doesn't like to be called Captain Marvel.
No, he wants to be called Legacy.
And similar to how in the last story we covered, he then turns on the person who sent him. He does the exact same thing with Eric the Red, demanding his origin story. So I guess we're just going to rank the issues 2 and 3 that Adam-X appears in. Which volume is this? This is
volume 3. We do need to talk about what Adam-X's origin story actually is.
Well,
Dan, would you like to do the honors?
Yeah, Dan, can you walk me through this? Because Fabian was like convinced that this explains everything. I'm not so sure.
I think this may have confused me more than I was before.
Okay.
Distilled TLDR. When what is Scott Summers' mother's name?
Catherine.
Catherine was on the Shi'ar planet. She had a child with the Mad Lord who has Adam, and then he loses his memory, and then he's on Earth. And he doesn't know he's the third Summers brother. No one knows he's the third Summers brother. Technically, we don't know he's the third Summers brother. But you know who does know? Eric the Red.
Okay, but here's the thing about that. You say Catherine Summers, but what you really mean is that Eric the Red says Adam was born of a human woman in Shi'ar space. And that's it. And then it's nothing.
Yeah,
then it's nothing. They don't... Look, I've been into Marvel space. There's more than one human out there. Like, don't tell me that Catherine Summers was the only human woman in Shi'ar space ever. Like, Eric the Red was sending people down to Earth for reasons that or not Eric the Red, the Mad Emperor Deken was sending people down to Earth for reasons to attack their planes and capture their people.
Yeah, but like in your hearts of hearts, you want it to be Adam.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question in my mind.
Hashtag accept no Vulcans.
No, I accept also Vulcan. I don't like the idea that there's only 3 Summers brothers. I think Gambit is Scott Summers' brother. I think Vulcan is Scott Summers' brother. I think Adam-X the X-Treme. Apocalypse, also Scott Summers' brother.
Imagine that Thanksgiving dinner, though.
I can. I want to. It sounds dope.
Everybody
Apocalypse
reaching
is the
for
one
the... Go ahead.
Apocalypse is definitely the one who like slams his fist on the table and like gets into a huff and runs up to his room.
Apocalypse is the political one, and no one agrees with him. But I think the actual line of dialogue here that Eric read says is that, Adam, yours is a destiny of power, for you were bred to introduce a hybrid of specific genetic potential into the Shi'ar monarchy. Adam-X, you were born to rule the Shi'ar Imperium. Don't believe that ever gets followed up on.
Never. Adam-X never rules the Shi'ar Imperium. And do you know what the funny thing is? He's not the only X-Men character who was bred to rule the Shi'ar Imperium. Because Lifeguard and Slipstream from Claremont's X-Treme X-Men, no relationship to Adam-X, also were bred for that.
Not as good characters.
Seems like
also, I guess Charles Xavier's new space daughter?
What?
Xandra? Do you not know about Xandra?
Oh, right, from Mr. and Mrs. X.
No.
Oh yeah, he has a space daughter now with Liara.
Yeah, that tracks.
She can turn into an egg.
Excuse me?
and whatever she wants. She's a shapeshifter.
Yeah, she's best friends with Cerise from Excalibur.
Mm-hmm. That's a good story, folks. Read Mr. and Mrs. X. It's fun.
The Shi'ar bloodline is almost as confusing as the Scott Summers family bloodline. Now, I would like to point out that we've barely talked about what actually happens in this book because it's bad, and the dialogue's bad, and the plotting is nonsensical. Like
the dialogue is hilarious.
Well, was Fabian in on it? That's the question. Yeah. Did he know?
I think at one point Captain Marvel says, "You sandwiched me," and I'm just sitting here going, like Gordon Ramsay when he puts like 2 pieces of bread on that cook, and she's like, "I'm an idiot sandwich." That's. I was just like, "What is going on here?"
There's no way that Fabian is not playing that for a joke. Like, he clearly knows the innuendo there, and you know, this does showcase his humor a little bit. I just think that the jokes that he's trying to tell with this character and the language that it uses is just not, it's hard to read. It's very, very difficult to follow. Yes. And you can see why this didn't last for very long, right? How long was this volume? 6 issues?
6 issues. 6.
Yeah. There's a reason it's not going to last, because no one would ever want to spend more time with this particular Captain Marvel, even if Adam-X origin stories are being shoehorned in.
Yeah. So this probably definitely the worst Adam-X appearance of all time. I think that's a fair statement.
Oh, easily.
But so I'd say on the list, it definitely goes below 168. Is this better than 178, Pride and Wisdom?
Oh, boy.
I want to...
At one point, Captain Marvel pulls Adam by his hair into the sky.
That is also good.
Adam screams, "Let go of me," and Captain Marvel says, "Then stop cutting me." Take that as you will on your ranking.
Mm.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this goes lower than that.
That's what I'm thinking. I actually think I found the spot that I like.
All right, tell me where you're going here.
I think this is better than 181 Marvel Mangaverse X-Men, but worse than Wildcats X-Men.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna put it above Wildcats X-Men. I think that's,
which is oddly comparable.
Yeah. All right, so this is our new 182.
I'm good with that.
All right.
Wait, 181.
Did you add
No, 182. You're right, guys. We're working off of a emergency backup list.
All right. So Captain Marvel Volume 3, 2 to 3 for Adam-X Extreme completists only. Now let's get to the good stuff.
Good. No. So this is from the adjectiveless run of X-Men. You may know it best as X-Men, and it's just called X-Men 39. There's a real title to it, I promise. If I would have done my due diligence and, like, I don't know, looked up stuff when I was supposed to instead of right now while I'm riffing, I'd probably be a better host. But it's called Birds of a Feather. And it's written by Fabian Nicieza with art by the incomparable Terry Dodson.
Yeah.
And this is a sweet story. This is Adam-X going camping.
We're seeing Adam-X in a different light. I mean, so far we have seen him covered in spikes. We've seen, the jean jacket, the blades, everything. Here, he's, for whatever reason, traipsing through the Alaskan wilderness in like an overcoat, a vest, a button-down shirt. So we're already seeing the kinder, gentler side of Adam-X the X-Treme. He's less extreme here.
He's just Adam.
Which
is
is
kind of
nice
weird
touch.
that he's just wandering through the snow. Like, he's just taking a walk.
Yeah.
He had nothing better to do.
You are right.
Though I don't know why he's in Alaska, or I don't know why Adam-X does anything that he does.
Well, he's there because we have Scott Summers' grandfather, Philip, who has crashed his plane. And Adam-X is there to rescue him and save his life. Which, if you needed a bigger, warning sign that he is actually a Summers brother, you could do worse than this story, right?
Yeah. I love the connection in this. Even if, say, Adam wasn't the third Summers brother, the connection between these two characters is something I never expected to read. And I loved it.
May I be the bearer of bad news here?
Okay.
Always.
That's not how genetics work. He's not related to Philip Summers at all.
Oh, yeah, not at all.
If he's Catherine's son with the Mad Emperor Daken, then Catherine has her own set of family, unless the Summers family's got some weird stuff that, frankly, wouldn't be that shocked of the X-Men. Yeah. But, I mean, look, Nate is already just real into, keeping it in the family. But I don't think that's the situation here with Corsair and his lovely wife Catherine. So when Philip starts talking about, I feel this connection between us, it doesn't work with the proposed layout that Fabian has. That said, it's still a very nice scene. And what I actually really like about it is at one point, Adam-X, as Philip is going into hypothermia, Adam says, hey, wait, let me try this. And he's never done this before, but he gives Philip a very small cut and uses all of his control to not burn his blood, but just raise his body temperature a little bit to keep him alive throughout the night.
I would love to know what the heck the science could possibly be for this. Like, I think
that works.
I don't imagine a scenario where he doesn't immediately kill him in this situation.
He's not burning his blood. He's just heating it. He's warming it. He's giving life where he's only always given death.
Okay.
And that's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's nonsense. It's beautiful.
Grandpa does go blind, though. So
yes.
It may have had some repercussions.
Well, I think what's also all right. So we're already highlighting the fact that Adam-X is using his powers instead of his normal X-Treme. I'm here to like kill everybody. He's actually
Right.
using it to help somebody, which is new. We'd never seen that before. But I also think it's really nice. The story is bookended by um, Philip Summers, remembering back to his wartime as a pilot, and then to sort of calm him down, Adam-X is kind of sharing this memory of Shiar's space travel. I mean,
Spaceships.
yeah. And that's comforting enough to help him get through the night. I also really appreciate the sort of like, Gene watching Adam-X disappear through the window and Scott doesn't get to see him or meet him ever.
Yeah, I really liked that, especially when after she does the mind link for them, he says, "Ma'am, he gave me just as much. He gave me something that I've been lacking since I first found myself here. He gave me hope." Like, I think that's a perfect end for Adam-X the X-Treme. Like, if he never showed up again, I could be happy because he's happy.
But he did, and it was in those Captain Marvel issues that were bad.
Well, so somehow he ends up back in. Wait, is he on Earth in those issues?
Yes, and here's what happens, because it's one of my favorite dumb gags. It's a callback to something back in early Claremont X-Men, but you find out that Eric the Red is actually watching all these proceedings in the hospital and spying on Adam-X. But then you also find out that Mr. Sinister is spying on Eric the Red, spying on Adam-X.
It's a great way to end the issue.
Inception.
It's so dumb. Like, guys, why would you not just be hacking into the computer at the hospital instead of Eric the Red's computer, Sinister?
Why doesn't he just send him like a AOL Instant Messenger message, be like, "Hey, you just want to do this together"?
No, because that's what he does to Beast in the Evolution universe. Which, Adam, did I tell you that I found the only drawing of Sinister in X-Men Evolution ever?
Yeah, you tweeted it the other day. He looked very anime.
He looks like Orin from Final Fantasy X.
It was cool.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was really neat.
It sure is something. But yeah, I like this issue. I love Terry Dodson's art in it. It's not perfect. It's not like peak Terry Dodson, but I still think it's really enjoyable.
Agreed.
I'm kind of upset that you mentioned that Captain Marvel came after this because like he feels like he grew as a character, but
yeah, and he regresses pretty darn hard.
Good old Fabe.
I don't see. Here's the thing. I don't know. I don't know what you do after this though. Like you have to strike while the iron's hot on this thing. And I know that Fabian has said there was supposed to be like a mini series and all this stuff, and maybe that was the plan that got kind of kiboshed by editorial. But I'm struggling to see how you take the seeds that have been planted for Adam-X and then really drive him into this cool new character that like could hold his own ongoing.
I don't know. I think he would require a certain amount of transformation. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that is going to be successful keeping the backwards ball cap and some of the Shatterstar-esque, braids and things like that. But I do think that you could have an evolution where he turned into something that was a little bit more important. Even if he wasn't a major character, but someone that had some sort of consequence.
I think for me, if I was Fade, my trajectory at this point would be to put him on a team like X-Force with someone like Shatterstar who has gone through that transformation that can help him get his own grounding, and then a mini. This is me, Adam-X Truther, saying that I do not want an ongoing. I would bend over backwards for a mini or a one shot, but he wouldn't be able to carry an ongoing.
So I'm sitting here myself. I don't know how in 94, 95 I would make Adam-X relevant. I know exactly what I want to do with him in 2019.
Oh, me too. Like, there's tons of ways to bring him into
Just
the present.
put him on Donny Cates's Guardians of the Galaxy. Done.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah, right?
You did it. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you do. Let Donny Cates do that. I'm not the world's biggest Donny Cates fan. Like, I'm not as hot on his Venom and Thanos and stuff and Cosmic Ghost Rider. I think Adam-X would work.
Yeah, I learned a lot of stuff about Venom because of the Donny Cates fans. I can't go back as a person, as a human being, from knowing this stuff. But
yeah, people horny for Venom.
Why? He's a pile of goo.
It don't make sense. I get it, man.
It scares
guys.
Right.
Look, chase your bliss, but
there's a reason we're not a Venom podcast.
That's very fair. Venom ruined good X books on more than one occasion.
Also, Thompson best.
Anyway, so I like this issue. I think it's a real solid one shot. It's definitely one that I have fond memories of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it does justice to evolving the Adam-X character. It really gives him an opportunity to move forward, even if that opportunity was never realized.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's sort of a benefit to not having this character develop, right? Like, we didn't get this character oversaturated in the market. So there's sort of an urban myth about this character, right?
Oh, yes.
Like, the reason we're fascinated with him and we're so excited to do an episode about him is because he's not around. And so it proposes a lot of what ifs, and he is such an audacious creation. Like,
audacious is a perfect word.
Yeah, it's so over the top and so of the moment, sort of capturing a zeitgeist of like what the mid to late 90s would be. I just love it. You know, he might as well be on like the illustrations for the Burger King Kids Club, because that's kind of what he looks like.
Wait. Can Adam-X wear Kid Vid cosplay?
Yeah, we talk about him being a Summers brother. Maybe he's brothers with Kid Vid. I love that you know what that is. Okay.
Kid Vid. Okay, wait, Dan, you're aware of what Kid Vid is, right?
Is that one of the the Burger King kids?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. He is. Here, I'm gonna send you a picture. Tell me if Adam-X is not Saturday, or if Kid Vid is not Saturday morning cartoon Adam-X.
Oh, I was gonna say he's the one with the glasses, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Does he have tattoos on his arms?
I think in this picture he does, which is just wild. But I don't remember Kid Vid having tats.
Yeah, no.
I don't either, but he does usually rock those Cyclops visor. It's kind of like a big old virtual reality mask, maybe. I don't know what they were going for there.
I don't know, but he is. Yeah, Saturday morning cartoon Adam-X feels right for him. I'm pretty sure he skateboards. Also, I'm pretty sure Adam-X doesn't skateboard. I just assumed he did.
Yeah, I think we all do, and I don't think we've ever seen him skateboard. I don't do indefinites.
Yeah, I just drew him recently, and I had him on a snowboard just because of the Alaska issue.
That was very good.
I just love the idea of him snowboarding. He's got to be in the X Games somehow. Like, what is his event?
Yeah.
I did also once draw Adam-X skateboarding in the only fan fiction I've ever written, which I alluded to last week with Leah.
You got to republish that when this episode comes out, because
guys, it's online. I'll put it on the As Mentioned.
It's terrific.
It's my 4-page Adam-X fan fiction. I drew the whole thing. I'm not a good artist. I'm not a good writer either, but hey, look, that worked out.
It was the fan comic that made me earlier this evening look for a single can of Mountain Dew when I stopped at the grocery store, and they only had 12 packs, and I wasn't willing to make that kind of Mountain Dew commitment, but It really did make me think about it.
That's fair.
I don't know what Adam would look like today. I just think that those seeds of being an outsider and wanting to understand and be a part of something is something that a lot of good X-Men had. I would say a very, very big amount. His powers are silly, but Wolverine has hot claws. So take that as you will.
Okay, we're gonna go down this tangent for a second. Is Wolverine's hot claws ever going to be used again?
Oh no.
Are they ever going to appear beyond like the 3 times that they got hot in Charles Soule's book?
I think people are going to run from any of this return, infinity, whatever, like anything that has to do with him coming back to life. No one in the X office is going to want to touch any of it.
The infinity stuff is a little bit better, because what's funny about it is the infinity stuff is essentially Loki saying, hey, I was the original plot for the Infinity Wars thing, and then editorial changed it, and it all got messed up. So now we're going to deal with some stuff. Hey, Wolverine, you want to hang out?
So in the New 52, let me allude this back to my brand, Superman at one point, and Jake will correct me if I'm wrong, my co-host and brother, Superman could do a solar flare, just like straight up solar flare.
Yes, John Romita Jr. decided to draw that real bright.
Yeah, and that is, I hope, never comes back. And it's just one of those things like, I know you have the power to do, but should you?
Well, that's Superman's dust. That's Superman's dust now, right? New 52 Superman died, and now we just got John Byrne's Superman back.
Who's really, really good, and he has a great son. I had something to say earlier. Can we say what happened to Eric the Red before we continue?
Oh, yeah, we totally
did skip over that. So what happens to him in the Captain
Marvel? We are not going
to
edit this into the right spot. Everyone's just going to have to live with our shame.
That's fine, because he makes him explode. He blows him up. Him and Captain Marvel, I don't know what his powers are. I don't know how his powers, puts his bracelets together like Wonder Woman, and Adam just lights this guy up, lit AF, and he just blows up. He makes him explode.
He does.
Man, that is the only redeemable thing from that issue.
Has Eric the Red returned?
No.
Really?
Not that I can tell.
That's the final appearance of Eric the Red?
It's not the final appearance of the Eric the Red costume, because Magneto wears it for a while.
Okay. But the actual Eric the Red, who is often other characters in disguise, but...
He was Cyclops once. He's been a Magneto. Yeah, I think that's the last time Eric the Red shows up in Captain Marvel Volume 3, Number 4, but I'm not sure if that's a flashback or something.
Okay. But Devon Shikari, that's the end of him.
Yes.
He got started.
Hey, we never ranked this X-Men issue.
Yeah, we got to rank this X-Men issue. This is better than those other 2 stories.
Oh, for sure.
But I'm trying to think of how much better.
I think it's got a lot of heart, and I enjoy it. I think Dodson's art is pretty solid. Kind of looking up around like the 125 area on the list.
What's 125? 125 is X-Men Origins Jean Grey number 1.
Mm-hmm.
I like that better because I really like the Mike Mayhew art, which I know I'm a bigger fan of than you are.
Yeah, I don't... Oh, man. Right sort of almost
cocaine.
Almost below that is Wolverine Cocaine, and I don't know. I think this is better than Uncanny 300.
I think this issue has a ton of heart, is a great character piece, has a pretty good interaction between Scott and Jean, and then it has a really, really great interaction between Jean and Adam.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to say. Wolverine as a solo series is frustrating me recently because I'm reading all of it, and there's some good and there's a heck of a lot of bad. I haven't even got to Feral Wolverine yet. I'm almost there though.
Is that when he loses his nose?
Yeah, that's when he loses his nose.
Yeah.
He doesn't have his metal claws. He's rocking them bone claws right now. Because I am on issue 100 of the Wolverine solo run. I have like 80 more to go, and I'm very excited.
Is this something you do to hurt yourself, or?
Here's the problem, and I think I've said this on air. But about a year and a half ago, I realized that I was theoretically pretty close to reading every X-Men comic. Like, mathematically, I was almost there.
Which is pretty wild.
It says a lot that I have children, and I'm also having read almost every X-Men comic.
Yeah, that's impressive.
So I started looking for the big gaps that I had, and I wanted to fill those. And Wolverine was one I knew was a huge gap that I had to get through. And I'm just going through it. Larry Hama is a very talented guy. I know G.I. Joe's good. But Larry Hama definitely, like, when someone says that Larry Hama only plotted like 2 or 3 pages ahead of where he was currently writing, I buy it, because sometimes it works out and it's great, and sometimes I don't know what Larry Hama's talking about.
That's okay.
Anyway, I'm going to say that this is below X-Men Origins Jean Grey, above Wolverine Cocaine, and above X-Men To Protect and To Serve.
Agreed. So new 126.
X-Men 39 Birds of a Feather, or Nice Adam-X. And that, my friends, does it. We are now, and I can't believe this, past 200 stories on this list. We are at 201.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Right.
Which means that we have read at least 200 X-Men stories.
Woo, I like the sound of that.
Do you? Because I feel like it's something that I can't really brag about.
What do you mean? You know.
You've almost read all of X-Men.
I
Yeah.
also can't brag about that. That's terrible.
Doesn't Marvel send you like a badge or something?
Friggin', hey, JDW, hey. Send me a badge.
It'll be a no prize. It'll be an empty envelope.
Oh my gosh, look, if Marvel sent me a no prize. One, I don't think that's how no prizes work.
It's not.
But two, it would be great. By the way, for people who aren't in the know on this, a no prize was something Marvel sent out in like the 60s or 70s and 80s when someone was like, oh, you guys have a plot hole here, but what if it was this, and this in the letters column? And they were like, yeah, you're being really pedantic here. These are stories about guys in tights, but here you go. Here's an empty envelope. I love it.
It's great.
It's a beautiful thing they did.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for taking us over 200. That's greatly appreciated.
Hey, I carried you guys over the threshold.
Something like that.
Covered in blades. We're all nicked up now, you know. It's great.
Doing sick kick flips. Hey Dan, where can people find you and all you do on the internet?
So you can find me at DC Super Sons on Twitter, or my own personal one at Dan the McMahon. I run a podcast called Super Sons. We try to break down the DC universe to make it a little bit more accessible to new readers and people who aren't into comic books. So after this, I have to go back over the fence to my team.
That's exciting. And one other thing that Dan does, and I alluded to it earlier, but Dan is one of our supporters on Patreon. And it's not often we get a support or we get to thank those people in person, but thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Me and Jake, my co-host, have been longtime fans, and it's great. It's a great show, so we'll continue supporting you.
Oh, well, thank you. If you want to be like Dan and support this great show, you can go on over to patreon.com/XavierFiles. If you pitch in at the $2 a month level, you can just kind of get an episode built around you. And maybe if I know you and I forget that you requested it, which I probably will because we have requests into like June at this point, I might invite you on the show. Who knows? Adam could invite you too, but he doesn't always see these DMs. It's a weird system, but we're working through it. You can also go on higher levels and, you can ask questions for the Q&A sessions that I do. I'm going to do a live YouTube Q&A live stream thing right after this. Fun fact, as I was coming down here, I was listening to the Rob. You know the Rob, right? Guy who has me blocked on Twitter, and I'm trying to get an interview at C2E2 with. I've never interacted with him. I actually got curious one day and looked and said, maybe I was a jerk in the past. That would track. I never talked about the Rob. It was weird. Anyway.
You were on a list.
I'm sure. It's not a big deal. I'm only a little upset. Anyway, I do follow him on Instagram, and he was doing a live stream. The Rob is just delightful. Listen to this guy talk about comics. He's great. He's great. He spent like 15 minutes talking about one issue of Fantastic Four that he loves.
Well, if nothing else, he loves comics, and he is so enthusiastic and is so funny and so genuine in that love that it's kind of hard to dismiss.
He spent like 5 minutes playing with a cable action figure and being like, guys, this is so cool. There's a cool cable action figure. Look how detailed he is. I love him.
Yeah.
Jeez, guys, the Rob actually maybe he's awesome. I don't know.
I love people who love things.
He does love things. That's the truth. Beyond that, you can find me on Twitter at XavierFiles. That's where I have stuff. You know the drill. XavierFiles.com has all the latest and greatest in X-Men news, media, entertainment, and the like. Adam, find you, line, on, go.
Guys, you can always follow me on Twitter at Arthur Stacy. We're wrapping up the end of Bish and Jube's attack on the mansion at the end of March. Thank you. So when this airs, you will also have really gotten to the big reveal at the end of Attack on the Mansion. If you want a print copy of it, an actual zine, head over to adamrec.bigcartel.com. You can get one for $3. All right.
Dan, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
For coming on one last time. But then until then, this has been Battle of the Atom. We hope you survived the experience.
Get it!
Okay, nope. Cutting that bit out. That gets darker than I want this podcast to go. It's very true for Apocalypse. It's not what I want.
Yeah, aren't you guys an Antifa podcast?
We're a lot of things.
A couple episodes ago, we switch it up every episode.